Welcome to another Founder Wisdom Pod. We have James Creech with us. He's founder at Creator Economy Jobs, co-founder at Measure Studio, insider at Creator Economy Expert. He's into startups and he's also an M&A advisor. So that's going to be quite interesting. This pod is brought to you by podplayer.com if you want to start or scale a podcast. James, glad to have you on. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Thanks, Charles. Great to be here. I've been in the creator economy for over 12 years. Started working in startups out of college, working in ad tech. Then I found my way into the first wave of creator businesses, which was multi-channel networks here in the US, specifically in LA. And at that time, we were helping creators originally on YouTube, but soon expanded to Vine and Instagram. And then, TikTok came along. We were helping creators build their audience, monetize, work with brands, but it was incredibly manual, right? How do you find the right talent? How do you generate a report, run a campaign, share that information with a brand advertiser? And so out of necessity, started building some tools to make it easier and realized, well, hey, we're not the only ones struggling with this stuff. Let's build a business around it. So teamed up with two partners and we launched our first company, Paladin, which was influencer marketing software. So we helped brands and agencies run influencer campaigns. Grew that business over 6 years, sold it to Brandwatch 2022, and then spent a year and a half kind of integrating the acquisition into Brandwatch, working on future corp dev, M&A, and long-term strategy. And then, got the chance to get back to building. So as you mentioned, I'm the co-founder of Measure Studio, which is AI-powered social media analytics. We help brands optimize their content strategy. I'm also the founder and CEO of Creator Economy Jobs, which is a job board for our industry, helping kind of connect candidates and hiring teams. And then I have a boutique M&A advisory practice called Quartermast, and we help founders navigate the exit process and have great outcomes, have a successful sale.
And it seems you're still interesting in corporate jobs nowadays. How is that working out with your entrepreneurial side?
Sure. So I've actually kind of gone full in on the entrepreneurial stuff, but I remember when I sold our first business, Paladin, right? It's exciting. It's a long journey, and it's also exhausting. But at the end of it, everyone, a few folks come to me and say, what are you going to do next, right? And so for me, it was trying to decide between, well, do I want to be an operator and work in large organizations, growth stage, mature stage, maybe public companies? Am I interested in being an advisor? I had been doing startup advisory and started to do more of the M&A advisory work and really liked it. Or do I want to be a capital allocator? Do I want to be an investor? And I quickly ruled out the third path because, as a good friend of mine suggested to me, the best investors are those who are able to look at 100 opportunities and say no repeatedly, right? You have to really be selective and pick one or two bets that you're going to make. And for the most part, those need to be highly contrarian bets because otherwise everyone else would be making the same investment. That's not my personality type, right? I've done some angel investing. I've been very lucky that some of them have worked out, which is enough reason that my wife will let me continue to write a few checks. But I don't have that discipline. I don't have that personality trait. I meet an entrepreneur. I get excited about what they're building. I want to invest. And so I've kind of, out of a rule, had to tell myself, I'm not going to actively angel invest. If I have a good friend who I really believe in, they have a great track record, and I can, give them a small investment, and I have some sort of unfair advantage in terms of evaluating their company or just really believing in them and the team of what they're going to do, great. But that's what kind of allowed me to hone in on, I want to be either an operator or an M&A advisor. And again, through trial and error, I've kind of realized that I really like the advisory work. I still keep one foot in the startup world and help as an operating partner, but I'm really more focused on the advisory side these days.
Any advice on how to advise people?
Sure. Yeah, it's a good timing. In fact, I wrote a LinkedIn post about this recently. So there's a few things that are important, right? If you are new to advisory, what I suggest is finding the ways that you can add value. So really thinking about, okay, why do you want to get into advisory work? For me, it was, okay, it's a chance to sharpen my skills, right? They say the best way to master something is to teach it, and advisory kind of falls into that same follows that principle. I also was interested in getting exposure to other industries, right? Like I know a lot about enterprise SaaS and about influencer marketing, creator economy, but I know less about the music space, right? Or Web3. And so doing advisory work has given me visibility and a chance to learn about other industries. And then the last thing is impact. So it's a great way to kind of give back or help other entrepreneurs along the journey. The way I got into advisory was kind of a happy accident. I was at a alumni breakfast for my university, and I had been working in early stage startups for maybe 7 years at that point. And I met these two brand new founders. They were a bit older than me. They had both worked in the traditional entertainment system. And they said, we know all about this space we're about to disrupt, but we don't know the first thing about building a company. Would you be up for having a coffee? And we had a chat that led to another chat that they said, hey, would you be an advisor? And I said, wow, I've never done anything like that before, but it felt like a good fit. I liked them. I felt like I could add some value. And so that was kind of just organically how I got into it. If I were starting out today, I would probably try to hone expertise in a specific thing where I could help startups, right? Sometimes that's fundraising and like advice on your pitch deck. Other times that's sales and business development. What's your go-to-market strategy? Helping with introductions, designing, comp plans, or how do you hire your first, senior salespeople? It could be marketing, right? What's your growth strategy? How can I help there? So focus in on what's your area of expertise. And then in terms of how to structure advisory engagements, I make a distinction between consulting and advisory work. So in my mind, consulting is short-term engagements, it's cash compensation, it's more tactical in nature. Advisory work, on the other hand, is longer term, strategic, and as a result, I think it should be equity based. That way, you're aligning your incentives with that of the team, the founders. So I don't do as much startup advisory work these days since I've got my hands full with other projects. But since I'm doing a lot of the M&A advisory work, a lot of it follows similar principles. But I look for good team that I believe in. Am I the right person to add value? And then do I have the bandwidth? Can I really help move the needle for this company?
Right. What's your take on B2B influencer marketing and most precisely LinkedIn?
Yeah. LinkedIn is having this enormous moment, right? It's evolved from a place where you drop your resume and maybe add a connection for people you work with to this daily content destination. And it's fascinating as a platform because, they have over 1 billion global members now. It is what we say is like high signal to low noise ratio. So it's a really impactful platform. People are their professional identities, so they're kind of on their best behavior, which you don't always get on X or other social platforms. And it's focused uniquely on B2B. So you've got these kind of senior decision makers who use this platform every day. My journey on LinkedIn started, well, initially, I don't know, back in the early days of kind of connecting with people, and I used it for networking, business development. But I started to approach it as more of a content creator in early, I guess it was January 2021. So I set a New Year's resolution for myself. Hey, I'm going to create content on this platform every day. I had some friends who had been encouraging me to do it for a while. And I was intrigued by this idea of like, okay, what would it mean to become a better writer, to read more of the things that are going on in our industry, have an opinion about them, and defend that in public. And it ended up being this amazing experience, right? I built an audience, but that wasn't really the initial goal. It was more about helping me become better informed and be a better leader. But I got great opportunities as a result of it. I met so many people. And fast forward to today, I teamed up with some friends and we launched Creator Authority, which is the world's first LinkedIn influencer marketing agency. So for us, we saw the opportunity on LinkedIn right now is the same as YouTube 15 years ago or Instagram 10 years ago, right? It's like people are building engaged audiences and brands want to reach those people. And so LinkedIn creators are very much the best way to do that at this point.
What's your take on podcasting on YouTube?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, podcasts are amazing, right? It's a slower growth path to building an audience, but it's so engaged, right? Like you spend this time listening to someone and it's like they're your friend or you're learning from them, you're entertained by them. And so the depth of fandom that podcasts create is almost unparalleled. And podcasts have a great business model, right? In terms of high CPMs, kind of high value for advertisers. So they're a really powerful platform. We've seen this change in the last, I don't know, call it 3 years, where before it was primarily an audio format. YouTube has gotten very aggressively into the podcasting space. And now, because YouTube is kind of this incremental distribution, more and more people are doing video podcasts, which is great because, you've got an additional format. So if you want to present data, charts, graphs, trends, right, you can kind of like incorporate the visual element. But it also, like YouTube just being this enormous global platform, opens you up to other types of audience or, listeners or viewers, as the case may be.
Tell me about your goals for this year. You're founder of multiple companies. How do you split your time? What are your top goals?
Yeah. So I spend 80% of my time on M&A advisory work. So through Quartermast, we are helping founders, prepare their companies to go through an M&A process, identifying buyers, helping them with every stage of the transaction, right? Identifying the right buyer, negotiating the deal, structuring it with legal and tax help, getting it over the finish line. So that's 80% of my time. I spend, probably 10% working on Measure Studio, so supporting my business partners, Thomas, and then kind of his right hand, Jen, who run the day to day, but definitely kind of supporting them in the background. And then between Creator Economy Jobs, another 5%, and Creator Authority, 5%, helping our teams, make connections to great hiring candidates. And then on the Creator Authority side, like supporting, facilitating B2B influencer campaigns on LinkedIn.
Right. And your own follower base, like any tips to grow that on LinkedIn, on YouTube precisely?
Mm-hmm. I'm probably not the best to advise on YouTube. I've been in the YouTube space for quite some time, but there are many more subject matter experts who can give you a crash course there. When it comes to LinkedIn, the things that have worked for me are, of course, consistency. So, I don't publish every weekday anymore like I used to, but I learned a lot from that about, what type of content works for me and my audience. Now I publish maybe twice a week. Some of that is templatized content. So I have two newsletters. One is weekly, one is monthly. And then the other is just kind of giving myself the creative freedom to write about what's on my mind, right? Like, as I mentioned, wrote about how to be a good startup advisor or how to get into it if it's your first time. And that was something that I've had this idea, talk to people about it. Okay, let me kind of consolidate my thoughts and put it on LinkedIn. But posting content is just the first step. The other thing is engaging with other people's posts. So don't just throw up a post and leave. Like, find other interesting, influential people in your ecosystem, engage, read their content, engage with it, share with other people. And then the other things are, there's certain algorithmic things that can give you additional distribution. So if you're paying attention to algorithm best practices, that will help. But for me, the thing has really just been that consistency and then writing about things that I'm passionate about, because otherwise it's so easy to just get burnt out creating content for somebody else. It has to kind of start, internally with you.
Selling a newsletter, any thoughts on that? It seems that tools like Beehive are making this easy. Have you followed their growth, and have you advised newsletter founders on selling their newsletter?
Mm. I'm a big fan of newsletters. And yes, Beehive is my preferred platform. So I've experimented with Substack and others, but I run my newsletters off of Beehive. I do have them on LinkedIn as well. I tell people to be cautious about that because it's easy to get subscribers, but you don't necessarily own the audience on LinkedIn, right? You don't see who your subscribers are. You don't get open rate metrics and other kind of basic analytics. So Beehive is a great tool for just making that easy. In terms of a newsletter as a business, they're a great foundation for a media company. I mean, you could have a very successful business just as a newsletter. Look at, Morning Brew or The Hustle. There's canonical examples, but many of them have also expanded into podcasts, social, live events, right? There's kind of other ways to build a media brand with a newsletter as a launching point. I haven't advised on any newsletter transactions. I'm sure there are great founders building in that space. It's an area I'd love to learn more about, but I've primarily focused on creator economy. So, the stuff that I know well. Maybe if there was a creator economy newsletter at some point, I'll help someone in that space.
Sorry, little delay here. Affiliates and selling products that you love using? What are your recommendations to that? Like me, I'm currently building a full list of my tech stack. These
Hmm.
companies pay me anywhere from 15 to 30% of the customer that I send them. I
Mhm.
call it micro revenue. I pair
Mhm.
that with medium and high ticket revenue, and end of
Yeah.
the day, result is pretty nice financially wise. How should creators get in touch with these brands? And are you bullish on them monetizing B2B SaaS, B2C SaaS, but also products that they use on a daily basis?
Well, first of all, I think you're thinking about it the right way. Affiliate is a great strategy for, content you're already making. Why not monetize that? And having a passive revenue stream like affiliate can be very powerful. Um, there are a lot of tools to help facilitate it. Kind of depends on your space. In the creator economy, there are well-known examples. LTK is probably the leader in fashion and beauty, but you've got other tools, certainly like a Magic Links or Bond is kind of a new start that's in the affiliate space, or you've got social commerce businesses like Orca and Modem. So there's some interesting activity happening kind of in and around affiliate. Um, it's not an area I'm as close to. I do think it will become more popular for B2B influencers. Today, it's probably still largely in the B2C space, but as a LinkedIn creator, hey, use my referral link to sign up for HubSpot, and then maybe you offer your audience a discount, but you're also getting some sort of referral fee from HubSpot for every deal you send their way. I can definitely see that becoming more and more popular.
Right. And how do you find these businesses that are attractive to be on the market? Do you have a system for that?
Hmm. Uh, to be honest, most of them find me, or they're people that I've known for a long time and love helping other founder friends navigate, the process of working towards an exit. In terms of, what qualifies someone to think about that, there's two dimensions. One is the company dimension. Is the business ready to be sold? And part of that's just good housekeeping. Part of that's, hitting certain milestones. It's different for a service business versus a tech business versus a media business. But there are certain kind of revenue thresholds, EBITDA thresholds, other things about growth. We look at revenue retention, customer concentration. So want to make sure the business is kind of fit and prepped for being attractive to a potential acquirer. And then the other is the personal dimension, right? So sharing our experience from selling Paladin, the business was ready. We had been building for a while, and fortunately, it had been profitable. Growing year over year, very healthy. And then we got this kind of dynamic surge around COVID where all of a sudden more and more people were doing influencer marketing. And at the same time, we realized, okay, well, this is a very crowded and competitive space. We either need to go out and raise a bunch of money and start doing acquisitions, or we can find a partner who shares our vision and can help us accelerate progress to the next level. And we found that in Brandwatch. So it was definitely the right time and it was the right partner. The other piece, though, is on the personal side, I had two co-founders, one of whom had his third kid and had, I really like doing early stage, like 0 to 1. I want to go back to building things from the ground up. And I had another partner, Thomas, who was very excited about the idea that became Measure Studio. And so, for various reasons, we kind of said, okay, yes, it makes sense on the business side, but it also makes sense on the personal side. And, that's a deeply individual decision you have to make. And so I help kind of founders think through, is it the right timing for me and my company?
Love that. What does a day-to-day in your life look like? Any habits you're nurturing to get higher performance out of yourself?
Mm. Yeah. One of the big things I'm focused on this year is trying to find more balance, right? I think, when I was younger, it was so easy to fall into the rhythm of just working nonstop. But I find that I am improved by having the discipline to do other things. So exercise is a big part of kind of my daily routine. I've started playing piano again. My wife got me a piano for Christmas, and I started taking lessons, and that's a fun creative outlet, but it's also kind of like a hobby that's kind of just for me. And then I've started to read more again. So I read for a variety of blogs, newsletters, books that kind of help me learn new things or develop skills, listen to podcasts, and then trying to fit in time for all the fun stuff in the margins of all the work I'm doing. So the day to day is really just like, wake up. I tend to have a bunch of meetings, kind of get through the inbox, and then carve out deep work time to make progress on the priority projects. So that could be, oh, I'm working with a M&A client where we're close to LOIs and we need to kind of design the process to get everyone aligned to get there. Or it could be, at some of the startups that I'm involved with, like what are the things that they need help with? We just did taxes, right? So like making sure the financials are in good shape, and then we got the taxes done, that kind of thing. So it's every day is a little bit different, but it's all kind of up to me to kind of be self-driven and then align, okay, what's the priority for today versus, what are the other things that keep me sharp and allow me to kind of continue to perform every week.
Love it, dude. Where can people find out more about you?
The best place is LinkedIn, right? So feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or drop me a note. You can also check out the websites for the various things I'm involved in. So quartermast.com, QUARTERMAST.com is the startup M&A advisory. And then we've got measure.studio for AI-powered social analytics, creatorauthority.co, and creatoreconomyjobs.co. That'd be the best place.